Nano, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro.
I appreciate you. Cool, cool, cool. Can everybody else hear me? Drop some threes if you can hear me. Cool, perfect, perfect, perfect. I appreciate everyone. Nano, I appreciate you, big dog, for real, for real. Really needed this link, so that's awesome. You guys, I'm excited to hop on this call today. When you see me on a whiteboard, you know it's going to be a pretty technical training, right? So this training that we're doing today is called the invisible fence, which we're going to get into in a minute, right? But right now more than ever, with the growth that we're experiencing in the company all around, I am in general, walking ATMs, QC, Nano's team, everybody just all around the world, Europe, all this other stuff, we're booming right now, right? And so with that part being said, the one thing that, that's crucial is that we build leaders as fast as possible, right? And we want to have it done as quick as possible. And what you're going to need to do is understand the psychology of leadership and group psychology and all that other stuff, because groups have personalities, right? And that's what the culture is. So groups have personalities, right? And that's what a culture is. And so what you want to be understanding is, if you can have psychology with an individual, if you can have, yeah, you're right. I'm recording, don't worry. It's going to go on my YouTube. I got a camera right here. If you have psychology, right, with one individual, that means you can have psychology with a group. And so with that part being said, you guys, let's go ahead and rock it, right? Again, this is called the invisible fence. And what is that, right? It's actually, it actually comes from the psychology that I am aware of with the dog, right? And so a lot of people know that the way I actually do things is not the same way as everyone else does things, right? And so what I mean by that is I pretty much take trainings and I implement things into the business, things that I've never, things that I've taken from, Walmart, Starbucks, dog training, right? All this random stuff, and I'll put it in here. And so this comes from an invisible fence. What's an invisible fence? Well, the other day, right, what happened is we have this balcony right here, right? And my biggest fear is Crixus, my dog, jumping off the edge. Okay, and so when he goes out there, I get terrified that he's out there, and I'll hurry up and try to bring him back in. And I know that at some point he's gonna be able to just walk. He's gonna walk out there, and throughout the day, etc. Right? And since I know that, I was like, what can I do in case the time that he does just walk out there? What can I do in order to stop him from jumping over the edge? I was like, is there a net I can have? Is there a wall, some type of clear wall, so I can still have the view? Is there something of that nature that I can utilize to make sure he doesn't jump over the edge? And then I started thinking, dogs have shot collars, right? An invisible fence that once they go too far, right, it zaps him, and he'll know not to ever go past a certain boundary on the balcony, and he won't jump off. And so with that part being said, that's kind of where the psychology of this came from. And now I'm really going to start tapping into this real quick. But now what I was looking at was this, okay? When you're training a dog, what you do with the dog is you let them wander. And you let them wander, and they'll wander into the fence. Boom, right? And it'll shock them. Eventually, they're going to figure it out. And so what I want to talk about right now, right, is a couple of different things that you need to learn to do as a leader, because, and I know Neno's really big on this, but this is going to come down to energy, right? Energy is a really big deal, and I'm not talking about high energy and all that other stuff that we talk about. I'm talking about utilizing the correct psychology of energy. And what do I mean by that, right? Well, we all know what you focus on grows, and the problem that I see with a lot of leaders is that once they have something that they dislike in their organization, they actually want to go put focus onto it. They want to bring it up in the chat rooms. They might want to say, "Yo, why are you doing this in the chat room?" Let's just say a whole bunch of people, there's a lot of drama going on, and they're handling it in the chat room. Or let's just say a leader messes up, and they're writing them. You have to learn to choose your battles as a leader. You have to learn to choose your battles as a leader. And what I mean by that is that you don't want to draw energy towards every little negative situation. And so what I'm going to teach you is how you can deal with these situations, right? Which is actually taking a very, very direct route, right? But you're also doing it in a very smart way to where these people don't know really what you're doing. And that's why group psychology is insane, because if you understand group psychology, you can actually do a lot of bad things. And so you want to take this and only use it for good and for leadership. And so with that part being said, right, let's just say, right, you have leaders in your organization. You have leaders in your organization. And it's called praise and neglect. Write this down. Praise and neglect, right? Praise and neglect, okay? Praise and neglect. And what you want to do is learn to utilize praise and neglect to your benefit, right? To your benefit. So when a dog is coming to you, this is what most people do. They'll say, sit, 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 and they say it over and over, and the dog begins to not listen to you, because now the dog knows that you can say sit 20 times, and it doesn't have to listen to the first 10, the first 15, and they actually stop listening. And so that's why I don't like when people talk to my dog, because they don't know how to talk to a dog, because they don't have the correct psychology when it comes to the dog. What you're supposed to do is you have a treat in your hand. And for Crixus, what this means is front. Front means come to me, sit down in front of me, come right to me and sit down right in front of me. So sometimes I will say front and I'll have a treat, and what will happen is he'll come to me, but he won't sit. And so what most people would do that don't know anything about dogs is they'll come to him and they'll say, sit, sit, sit. But what you're supposed to do is when he comes and he doesn't sit, you wait. And he'll wait and he'll look at you. You're neglecting. You're neglecting. You're waiting. You're waiting. And eventually he's like looking around. He's like, how do I get the treat? What's going on? How do I get it? And then he sits down. You give him the praise. You give him the treat immediately. Now he knows, okay, now he knows I did something good, right? And so once you're training a dog to sit, it's the same thing. You stand them back up and you wait. You don't keep saying sit, you wait. And they're like, what do I do? What do I do? The second they sit down, you give them a treat immediately. You praise them right away, okay? So what's my point? What's my point? What you want to learn to do as a leader is sometimes utilize praise and neglect to people, to your team. You don't have to smack the dog because the dog's not sitting. You don't have to do that to get the result that you want, because that's let's just say, that's just a very powerful, lack of a better word, I can't think of the word right now, but it's a very, what's the word, like extreme, there we go. That's a very extreme thing to do, to swap the dog, and now you're angry, right? Now you're angry. Now you're upset, and you drew more energy to it. Now what happens is the dog is actually not going to listen even more because you slapped the dog, right, for not sitting down. So what's my point? What's my point? My point is that when a leader's doing something that you don't want them to do, and you will go ahead and you attack it, ego head on. I always say never attack ego head on, right? Never attack ego head on. Why? Because an egotistical person, right, doesn't know that they're being egotistical. So there's no point in going head to head with them, because they're not going to listen in. They're not going to listen to you anyways. But what you can do is you can change the way they think, and if you change the way they think, then you can change what they do. And so you might as well take an indirect route and use praise and neglect. And again, this is how you're going to do it. Now, what happens is let's just say you have a leader that's always wanting to be the center of attention, right? Most people, right? Most people want to have attention. That's just life. I want to have attention. Everyone wants to have attention. No matter what, if you have someone that's like, I don't care for the attention, they care for it. They're saying that they don't because they want the attention of I don't care about attention. So it's actually reverse psychology what they're doing. And so what I'm explaining to you right now is that most people, right, want recognition and attention because babies cry for it, right? Men will die for it. Recognition, right? So you got to understand the power of recognition. Now, with that part being said, you have this leader. This leader is constantly not showing up to events. They're constantly not showing up to the trainings. But get this, right? Let's just say this leader is an alpha, right? This leader has the possibility to grow a big-ass team. They know a lot of people, right? They know a lot of people. They have huge influence. They can kill this, right? Here's the problem about leaders that are watching the situation in their organization. They're gonna let that leader speak just because they're the best. They will treat that leader differently, right? They will treat that leader differently just because they're good. Okay, and again, I want you to really understand what we're talking about: praise and neglect. Thank you, God. Man, y'all gotta be smart to do this, right? Hopefully you guys can see this. All right. So here's my thing. Okay. So what you're gonna do is this: you don't have to necessarily attack the leader. You don't have to go after them. What you do is when they show up to an event, you say what's up to them. You acknowledge them, and you keep walking. And you go and you start talking to the leaders that are actually moving, the leaders that are actually working, the people in your organization that are doing that. Now what's going on is that leader, they just know that I don't like what's happening. They don't know why. They're like, subconsciously, they might not even be consciously thinking that. They just have an uncomfortable feeling. It's an invisible fence, right? It's an invisible fence. Because what just happened is they just got popped by something invisible. They're like, what the fuck was that? Excuse my language. They're like, what was that? Right? So they're walking and you just did that bow. And so now keep in mind, it's going to take a while for a dog to realize it should not do that. Okay? It's going to take a while for the dog to realize that it should not do that. So now what's going to happen is you go and you say, hey, you guys, I'm going to take everybody out to eat, hypothetically. Or I'm going to take a couple people out to eat. You don't say ranks, you don't say none of that. I'm just using an example, okay? Now what happens is you invite all the leaders that are moving. Let's just say you have an organization of, let's just say about 10 people, right? So 10 people in your organization, or 10 people, in your organization. And now let's just say maybe 3 of them are actually moving, okay, are moving and are actually consistent and everything. And then you have 1 that is a savage, okay? You have 1 that's a savage, right? Now here's my thing. What you want to do is you want to invite, and again, I'm just giving you an example so you understand. You're going to want to invite maybe those 3 to maybe come to the penthouse and have a one-on-one grind session and have them uploading it onto Instagram. Maybe you invite them to go out to eat, right? And what you do is you don't invite this person. You don't invite that person. Now, so what you're doing is you're praising these people and you're neglecting these people. Now, when I say neglect, that's a very strong word, okay? I don't mean it to that extent. I do not mean don't call that person and keep your relationship. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't ever talk to them. That's not what I'm saying. I want you to lessen a little bit of that word because I don't want you to go all the way in on that. I'm just using terminology for you. And what you're going to do is you're going to acknowledge that person. But what you're not going to do is you're not going to praise them. You're not going to say, oh, you're a savage. You're not going to do that. Now what happens is this. Now get this. If you're a dog, right, I want you to look like this. Let's just say this is the fence, right? Let's just say this is the invisible fence. That happens is you pop, right? Now, if I want the dog to go this way, now let's just say it goes pop, I want the dog to go back. Now the second the dog turns around, I give them a treat. So now the dog's like, okay, if I stay over here, that's good. If I stay over here, that's good. That's all they know. Bow, I don't like that. If I stay over here, that's good, right? There's another thing. There's a shot caller. When the dog is running, it keeps zapping them as they go that way. But it has a GPS on it. But if the dog turns around and starts working its way back to the house, the zapping stops. So what's happening is now it's showing the dog, you don't want to go that way, but if you go that way, the zapping will stop. And so what's my point with that, right? My point is that when you're talking to a leader, right, and you're praising these people, and you're neglecting that person is not going to like it, and they just don't know why. But now what happens is that, let's just say they show up to a meeting now, right? They show up to 3 meetings back to back. They've been inconsistent, but now they show up to 3 back to back or something. Now you acknowledge them. Now what you do is you give them a little bit of praise. Not too much, but you give them a little bit. Now what's going to happen is that leader's like, oh, okay, now they're thinking, okay, they're not even really thinking this. This is going to be all like in their subconscious mind. They don't even know that they're doing this, right? That's why this is so powerful. So what's actually happening is that they're thinking, without knowing they're doing it, man, so if I do this, I get praised. That's what's going to happen. So now they're going to take that route again. They're going to show up to another event and you praise them again. Now they're like, okay, this is good. This is good, right? And so what you do is you're actually able to essentially help, you can help influence a large organization by using praise and neglect and using that with leaders, etc. Now here's another example. We all have this culture, right? We've all had this culture, or some of us still have this culture, of having people that only want to trade, right? Drop a 7 if you have had this issue where you only have people that want to trade. I'm going to teach you how to solve this problem right now. Now, I'm going to teach you, this is a very fire training right now, and I'm going to be honest, there should be way more people on this call. There's no one else is going to teach this right now, okay? So let's rock it. Now get this. The reason why you have a culture of trading is because you praise trading and you're neglecting building. You're neglecting the praise of building and you're praising the trading. So what people are doing is they want attention. And so since you're saying, oh, that person's a fire trader. That's a fire trader. That's a fire trader. Oh man, that person can trade. Oh, they're making withdrawals. But you're not saying anything about the people that are building though. You're not saying, oh, shout out to such and such for putting me on a 3-way today. So, shout out to such and such for always staying in the trenches, being consistent, right? You're not doing that. You're neglecting. So what you're doing is you're praising the wrong things. What you're doing is when the dog is going, you're actually doing the opposite of what you want. When the dog is going over there, you're giving them a treat. When the dog is going over to the side you don't want it to, you're giving them a treat. And now, when the dog is going the correct way, you're zapping them. And so you're going to end up getting, you have the reverse, you're reversing praise and neglect because you don't know that you're doing it. And so what you've got to do is very simple to change a group, to change a culture by utilizing this. Most of you are going to be wondering, how do I get a whole group of people and how do I stop this only trading? There's nothing wrong with trading, right? There's nothing wrong with trading, but if you want to build a big ass organization, there's a problem when you only have customers and you don't have IBOs. Okay, there's a problem with that because you're not going to build $1 million business by only having customers. You have to be able to duplicate with IBOs, aka distributors, right? And so what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to learn how to switch your culture to where some of your customers understand the value that we're giving as a company and they want to go get in the trenches. And now it's like, yeah, Cash, I understand that. What do I do? All you do is you start deliberately praising people that are building and you start neglecting the trading so much, right? You start neglecting all the trading for a little while. And as the shift begins to happen, it'll be a shift happening, right? Now, right? I'm not saying trading's bad. In the beginning, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to neglect praising trading in the beginning if you're going to get that shift that you're wanting. Once this shift is disconnected enough to where now you have a culture of building and you have a culture of people wanting to do that, then you can bring the trading back and now you can praise both, right? You're going to have to be extreme in the beginning, and then once you get that shift, then you can praise both, right? Drop a 1 if this is making sense for you. Perfect, perfect. So this is how you utilize praise and neglect. You can do this, right, almost with any situation. It's the most powerful form of leadership and psychology that I've ever learned, because my thing is I realize I can get a lot done without having to go to war. Here's my thing. If I could take a country, if I'm going to burn the ships to take the island, I want to do it with no casualties if possible. So why would I ever, right, if I could, burn the boats and let's go to war, but I want to use my head first. I don't want to be the idiot running out there. And so I'm going to, yes, casualties might happen in war, but I don't want to have a lot of casualties. And so if I can just walk up to whoever owns the island and just say, yo, man, hey, I'm just telling you right now, you're surrounded. I use my brain, you're surrounded. You just give it up, right? And now no one has to die today, okay? That's the same thing with our business, because what happens is we do two things. We let some of our leaders, some of our people within our organization control us instead of us being the leader. We let our team lead us instead of us leading our team. And so what happens is you have ideas, you want to get things done, but you can't do it because you're allowing your team to lead you and you're not leading your team. And in order to switch that, you're going to have to learn how to do praise and neglect, and learn how to not attack ego head on, because if you attack ego head on, you're going to have a war and there will be casualties. And that leader might do things that you don't want to happen. They might just say, yo, I'm going to create my own company. I'm going to go do this. And now that's what happens. But if you can make it to where everyone wins and you use praise and neglect, now you're able to do a lot of stuff. Praise and neglect is going to be your invisible fence. Okay? It's going to be an invisible fence. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, right, is words. The way you talk to a group of people, right? Words, right? Words. Words is very powerful as a leader. And what you've got to understand is once you're talking to people, especially on text message, especially if you're a leader, you cannot just send text messages without thinking, because you have to understand that once you're texting, they can't hear your tonality, they don't know how you're saying it, and it might be taken the wrong way. And so your job, here's my thing. If you say something and they take offense to it, that's your fault as a leader. And you've got to get good at using the correct words. That's just text messaging, right? Now, my other thing is once you're talking to people, you want to stay away from the words, you want to stay away from using the word you. You do not want to utilize the word you, okay, once you're talking to when you're mentoring or giving constructive criticism. You do not want to use the words you. The word that you're going to want to use is this word, these words, right? Let's and we. Those are some of the most powerful words in leadership that you can utilize, right? Let me explain. You have a leader that's always standing on, or let's just say you have a leader that's always, right, showing up late. They're always showing up late, okay? They're the only person showing up late. Now, what most people do is they're like, hey, bro, yo, you keep showing up late, man. You got to stop doing that, okay? You can get this, you're going to get in a negative, no matter what, okay? It doesn't matter if you're in the right as a leader. It's your job to say things the right way and still get it done, right? If you say it the right way, it's going to be better if you do it in a more constructive way. So that's why we call it constructive criticism. But sometimes, where you might not be trying to be malicious, but you're still being destructive. You want to be constructive, right? So what do? You say, hey bro, so I know that like a lot of stuff has happened in life. Honestly, for me, right, I'm actually terrible, right, at showing up to stuff until I started doing this, right? But we've got to make sure that we're showing up on time and stuff like that. So let's just make sure that from now on moving forward that we're showing up. Notice how I'm saying we. I'm not saying you. Now the other thing you'll realize that I did there, okay, is I included myself. No matter what, even if it's not true, I will also put myself inside and say I also have that problem as well, right? I also have that problem as well. I'm making them know that I'm saying to them, this is pretty much what I'm saying. Hey, I'm not perfect, okay? I'm aware there's a lot of other things, right, that I'm not perfect at, and all I'm doing is I'm just letting you know that you can't be showing up late. That's kind of what I'm saying, right? But it's better if I say let's and we, and I include myself inside that problem, okay? So I include myself, right? Yourself in the constructive criticism. That's something that's very powerful with leadership psychology. Okay? Now the other thing I want to teach you is this. Once you are speaking to someone, all right, what you want to do is, I'm going to talk to you in stages. You have the beginning of the constructive criticism. You have the middle of the constructive criticism, and then you have the end of the constructive criticism, right? You have the beginning, the middle, and the end, okay? Now, what do I want to do? What I want to do is this. In the beginning, I want to start off with a high energy, right? High energy, good energy, trusting energy. And more so, what I'm really saying is, in the beginning of, and I'm going to give you a whole example on this, okay? So sometimes when we're learn how to learn. Sometimes when we're learning, we automatically have a question right when I'm starting this, and I might get to it, and now you're not listening because you have a question. So just wait till I get to the end before you start asking yourself all these questions. Write down the question on the side, all right, and then ask it later. I'll answer a couple questions here at the end, okay? So high energy. Now what I'm really saying in the beginning is compliment, right? Compliment, and then you transition to the middle. You're going to transition into the middle. You start off by compliment. You transition to the middle with the actual constructive criticism. So the criticism, right? I don't know how to spell criticism, honestly. I can't spell. You guys, like I said, I'm not smart. It's cool. So criticism. And then what you do is you end it again with positivity. Okay? So you're giving what you're doing, and this is the key. People are spelling in the chat. Love y'all. Thank you. Right? This is what you got to understand. If you started off negatively, if you say, yo, bro, why are you always showing up late? You're putting their shield up right away. Now they're going to get defensive and they're not listening to anything you have to say because now they have an ego. Now, right, if you leave it at the end of the conversation, now let's just say you started off like this. You started off with a compliment, and then you just end it with the constructive criticism, right? What's going to happen is this. What's going to happen is you're leaving it on negative energy, right? And so now what's happening is this person is now going to they're now going to be upset because of how it ended. And remember the last time. Here's another thing with the dog, right? When we're training Crixus, okay? When we're training Crixus, we would go out there. We'd bring Crixus out there, and we would do bite work, right? We do the bite work for protective training. And what would happen is if Crixus if he had a really good round, right? If he went out there and he did it really well immediately, we would immediately stop the training and we would take him and put him in the cage. right? Because we want him to end, right? We want him to remember the last thing that he did, and the last thing he did was perfect. And so that's how we're leaving it. So what we're doing is the same psychology with this. We don't want to, if he ends it bad, he's going to come in there and be sloppy the next time. So we always want to end it on a good note in dog psychology and bite work. And the same thing is with this, is we want to end our constructive criticism, right, with positivity, because if we end it with a negative way, right, that's all that they're going to remember. So I'm going to get into an actual example now, okay? When someone shows up late, I'm going to use the exact same example. Hey, bro, so, I just want to say this, first of all. I love the way when you're at the events and stuff like that, you're always the first one, right? So you're always the first one to get up and your energy's great. You're always the first. I'm finding something positive. You're always the first one to be high energy. You're always making sure you're helping people out and all this other stuff. And, that part being said, a lot of people are looking up to you. And I remember I used to be exactly like you. Right? I used to be exactly like you. And my thing is honestly, I really suck. I'm going to be honest, I hate having to be show up places on time. I'm going to be honest, I want to show up when I want to show up. But, right, when I became a leader and I realized a lot of people were looking up to me, okay, I had to start showing up on time. So with that part being said, since so many people are looking up to you and you have such great energy, like I was just saying, right, let's make sure that we're showing up that way, right, more people will look up to you even more. But like I said, now I'm at the end, but like I said, right, your energy's great and everything. I just want to help you be better. I want you to be better, and that's my job as a mentor. Do you see what I did? I literally transitioned and I hid, right, the criticism. Right? I hid the criticism in the middle. I fluffed it and put it in the middle. Now it's not as a negative, it's not as impactful, because write this down, right? People, right? People do not like to be criticized ever. That's just the truth of it. No matter how personally developed you are, you're always going to feel like, damn, did they just say that? Now, somebody who's very self-aware, like for example, maybe Drake, Nano, me, someone else, like we acknowledge that we dislike it, but we're also able to look at it in an unbiased way and say, I understand why Matt just said that though. He's right. I didn't like it. I don't want someone to say something to me, right? I had a negative feeling. But where it comes in is self-awareness kicks in, and we're like, I understand that I feel negative because who wants to be criticized? But at the same time, right, he's right. He's right. But most people, right, don't like to be criticized at all. And so you have to learn as a leader to use really good psychology to get through people's barriers and get what you want, right? And get what you want, because write this down again, right? Your job is you cannot change what people do, but you can change the way they think. And if you change what they think, then you can change what they do. Right? And that's always how it's going to be. If you change the way they think, you can change what they do. And that's why you utilize praise and neglect. Now, the other thing I want to teach you is how to utilize, okay? How to utilize, right, productivity. Productivity, right? Activity. And what's the other one? What's it called? Activity. There we go. Now look. So what a lot of us do is, first of all, let me say this, right? What I'm going to teach you on right now is how to work with momentum, right? The training will be on my YouTube, guys. The training will be on my YouTube for sure. There's a camera right here on doing this as well. So listen, all right? What you want to do is you want to learn how to, I always tell everyone this, I do not like too much structure. I do not like too much structure. And the reason why is because I need wiggle room to adapt. And so I want you to look at energy like this, right? I want you to look at, this is going to be a structure, and this is going to be a structure. Now, what I personally like, and hopefully, again, this is like next level shit, okay? hopefully, right, you get what I'm saying, but I want to be able to flow and adapt with business, etc. And so what's my point? Ranks is the lowest level of leadership, right? I don't like to, people are like, when should someone speak, right? Should they speak at P600, right? Or should they speak at P600? Or should they speak at P1000? Well, what's happening is I'm not having enough movement because I believe, this is my logic on leadership, I believe that someone should speak once they're ready to speak, not once they're at a rank. So what I want is I want to remove the structure a little bit, and I want to be able to feel it out instead. I want to be able to feel it out instead and have a little wiggle room so that I can adapt and say, okay, I believe that this leader is ready to speak. That's why I don't like to have too much structure. That's why I don't like to have an exact 7 days a week, 7 days a week of, of a schedule for the squad, right? Yeah, we could come up with a 7-day system, but I believe there should be a little bit of a system, but there needs to be a lot of wiggle room, right? Because then you can adapt and you can change things. So you've got to learn that you're going to have to adapt. And so with all of that part being said, this is the last example I want to use real quick. So you can use percentages, for example. Let's just say you work out. You can use percentages off of your max weight and say, okay, I'm going to go up 5% every time, and that might work, right? That might work. But what happens if you go up 5% every time and now you're increasing your strength that way, right? I'm sure you'll get a lot of growth, but what if you still have 7% in the chamber? Now you're missing 2% of what you could be because you're stuck on that structure. I like to work out by feeling the weight, not by having an exact structure. That's just me. I like to feel it out. And so what I'm saying is, with business, yes, I have a structure. Yes, I might be like, I'm not going to go lower, for example. I'm not going to go lower than 225 on bench, but I'm also not going to stay at 225 on bench just because that's 5%. I'm going to go up to 235, 245, 300. You get my point, but I'm just saying I have some area of movement. I'm not going to just say I'm only doing 225. And so hopefully you get my point. Now here's my thing. What we're doing when we're having productivity and activity, what a lot of us do is we focus more on potential. We focus more on ranks. And some people will be like, who should I put in the chat room? You should put, this is my point on everything, whoever is moving is who you should put into a chat room. Whoever is moving is who you should put into a chat room. You don't just put, this is just me personally. I don't care about P600 chat rooms. I'm not a fan of it. I do not like it. That's just me. I like to move. Because my thing is what if I have Sarah who's fucking killing it right now? Sarah's killing it. She's constantly giving me calls, and then my P600 isn't doing shit. Right? So now I have Sarah who should be inside my chat room killing it, and then I got Jim who's P600, but Jim's never showing up. So why would I do that? That makes no sense. So what I'm doing is I'm on my leadership psychology. I'm actually being an active leader myself. I'm focusing on active energy and not on productive energy. I'm focused on active energy, not on productive energy. What I've got to do, if I want to have momentum, I want to work with momentum. How do I work with momentum? Is I focus on who's moving. I focus on who's moving if I want momentum, not on ranks, because ranks doesn't mean that they're moving. Ranks means they moved. But your business is going to adapt. Your business is going to adapt, and you've got to learn to adapt with your business. And if you're on this little structure of, yeah, if someone's a P1, then this is what I'm going to do with that person, and blah, 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 blah. Well, my thing is you're not adapting, and you've got to adapt with this business. I always say this to everyone. Your leaders, whoever's moving right now is not going to be the same people that's moving a week from now. Right? It's not going to be the same people that's moving 2 weeks from now. So the game plan that you make today is not going to be the same game plan that you make, right, it's not going to work next week. right? So I was talking to one of our leaders out here, right? Not gonna say who it is, but when we were talking to this leader, we came up with this big ass game plan on something. And after like 3 days went by, right, we went to go, they asked me, hey, should we execute this? I said no. Why? Because it's been 3 days. That game plan's not the same anymore. A lot's already changed. Too much has changed now. And so my thing is that's why the best time to do anything is now. And so what you've got to understand is your business is going to adapt. You've got to come up with a game plan and execute the game plan. But the thing is some of us come up with a game plan and we don't realize we come up with a game plan maybe right now. And then a month from now, we're still working on the same game plan, not really realizing that that's not going to work anymore because we're not adapting. That's why you've got to get a whiteboard and you've got to map this shit out. You got to get a whiteboard and draw out what is my leaders that are moving right now. Because here's my thing. And I'm going to draw out what's going to look like a downline, but it's not, okay? I just want to give you an example of something. All right? So this is you. This is not your downline. Yes, it's going to be people within your organization, but I'm looking at this as energy, not as actual duplicate, or not as like, hey, this is P6 and all this other stuff. I'm just going to draw out 2 legs. Right now, I want you to look at this. P, right? Or let's just say, M, right? Moving, right? And then, let's say, active, right? Now, here's my thing. This is something that a lot of people think that rich people are bougie because rich people get valet and all this other stuff. They're not bougie because they're getting valet. They're getting valet because they don't want to spend their energy and they want to be productive. Because my thing is at Chairman 50, I'm going to be honest, I'm making a lot of money per hour and I've got to be thinking, do I want to take an hour out of my day to go downstairs? Right? Like to go downstairs and walk my dog? Or should I maybe pay someone to do it? Because I might pay someone $25. If I go downstairs and walk my dog, that might be $250. So why would my time is valuable. I need to pay someone $25 to go. I'm using an example. I don't know how much I get paid now. I don't care. But you've got to understand what I'm saying. It's because I'm being productive. But it's not, I'm looking at a percentage, right? The percentage of $25, right? Or the percentage of $250, right? And so what I'm explaining to you is I want to look at my energy that I'm putting into my business the same way. Are you spending 50% of your time with active people and 50% of your time with moving people? Because what I would say is that I'm not saying neglect these people, but what I am saying is that why would I spend 50-50 if I could do 80% on the productive people, right? 80% on the productive people, and then 20%, right, on the active people. And so now, right, I'm getting more momentum. Some of you are calling through. If you have I want you to understand what I'm saying. Don't make it like, it's not even 80-20 rule. I'm giving you an example as well because 80-20 rule is then going to come into a structure. I don't like structure. I'm saying vibe it out and be aware of what I'm saying. Be aware so you can adapt because it might be 80-20 this week, but next week it might be 70-30. It might be 50-50 sometimes. It really depends, is what I'm saying. I'm telling you to be aware of, are you being productive is what I'm asking you. Are you aware that you're splitting all of your energy and you're calling through active people? Because there's no point in calling an active person. That's not going to give me productivity. And you're wondering why you're not getting momentum is because you're working through active people instead of working through the productive people that are producing. So you've got to start thinking, let me put more energy down on this, 80% over here, for example, and then 20% over there. Now, the other thing what I'm explaining to you is I don't know what it is, But for some reason, when people are on the come up, once you say something, they take everything so literal, right? So if I say 80-20, you're thinking 80-20. But what I'm saying is adapt. Now, here's my point as well. I'm absolutely not saying do not talk to those people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm absolutely not saying don't call them. I'm just telling you to be aware, keep your relationship with those people, because what's going to happen is, what did I tell you? Your leaders this week are not going to be the same leaders as next week, right? So what's going to happen is Bob might be the most active person over here, and Samantha, right? Samantha might be, he might be the most productive. Samantha might be the most active, but they can switch. And so now what's going to happen is we now have Bob over here and Sam over here. But guess what? If you're not aware of that, what's going to happen? Now, since you're not aware because you're going off the same game plan that you wrote down last week, what's happening is you're still focused right now on Bob, who's now the active person and not the productive person, because you're not being aware of what I'm saying. So if you want to be, listen, there's productivity once you're being productive yourself, and then there's productivity as being a productive leader by focusing on and being productive, by being a productive leader, focusing on the productive leaders, the productive producers. Hopefully I'm making sense, okay? Hopefully I'm making sense. This is going to be, again, you guys, I've never had anyone teach me this before. This is just what I've learned from my years in this organization. You're not going to hear about this shit anywhere else. That's all I can explain to you, right? So if you want to, listen, call numbers are dropping. My thing is you're tripping, right? You're tripping. So here's my thing. That's going to be how you're going to get your momentum. That's going to be how you're going to get your momentum. And so what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to think a little bit more broad and a little bit less structured sometimes. And you want to learn to look at the bigger picture and then zoom in, right? You look at the big picture and then zoom in. It's exactly like trading. So a lot of you, what you're doing is you're zoomed in and you're constantly trying to take a trade on the 1 minute, on the 30 minute, on the 1 hour, on the 4 hour, right? But you need to zoom out to see, is it moving the way I think it is, right? Sometimes when you're just focused on leaders, like just focus on Bob was a huge builder. Bob the builder was building the shit of this organization last week. You've got to zoom out, take a step back, get your ass on the whiteboard, and be thinking, is Bob producing still the way I think Bob was producing last week? Is this person doing the same thing that this person was doing last week? And have they changed? Right? You've got to look at the big picture. The big picture, and then you zoom in on the game plan. Then you zoom back out. Because a lot of you are losing momentum because you're focused on the wrong people and on the wrong things, right? If you want momentum, focus on the things that create momentum. And it's not going to be somebody who has potential. Potential isn't productivity. Potential isn't momentum. Movement is momentum. Movement is momentum. So focus on moving leaders. You put them into a chat room. Now guess what? Once they're in that chat room, you focus on those leaders, but some of those leaders are going to quit. Now here's my other thing, right? I don't know if you guys know about the Campfire Effect, right? Campfire Effect. Okay? The Campfire Effect. And the Campfire Effect, I'm not going to get into the placing of it. Oh my God, I'm thirsty as hell. I'm not going to get into the play. Campfire Effect is usually placement. Right? It's usually placement. It means you're putting pretty much like with like, I'm just going to say that, and location with location. So if you have someone in Dallas, you put them with a Dallas person, or if you have people that are working out, you put them, the personality with the same personality or something, because it creates momentum. Now, what I'm doing is, I don't know why I think like this, is just how I think, okay? I take things and I use it to my benefit. So I take the Campfire Effect, right? If you look at the Campfire Effect, it's energy, right? It's energy. You're being productive on the placement because it might spark more energy. So what I do is I look at the Campfire Effect, which is something that is on placement, but I zoom out more, and I'm not structured. I don't only use it for placement. What I also do is I use it for energy, and I use it to find out on movement. And so guess what do? How do I create a culture? Oh man, damn it. Okay, here we go. So how do I create a culture? I don't know. Some of this shit I just should not be teaching. What you should do, right? What you should do is this. If you have people, right, that are not doing what you, this is a don't want, right? This is a group of people right in here that are doing things that you don't want them to do. Now this is people that are doing things that you do want. Right? Do want. Well, what you want is you want to praise neglect, or another word you can use for this situation is isolate. Isolate and group. Group them together. Now, let me explain. Make sure you guys see. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm gonna use the exact same scenario. This is you, right? And then you have people, okay? And you know what? I'm gonna do it like this. Right? This is gonna be, red is gonna be do want, okay? So red's gonna be do want. Alright? Now, what I want to do is this. And you know what? I'm going to make it a dramatic number for you. Alright? So, over here, okay, keep in mind, I'm talking about energy right now, so don't get confused. So look at this red. Red is representing the people that I do want. Okay? And so what I want to do is I don't want, right? I don't want these people mixed in with those people, because then what's going to happen is all these people will turn blue. The red will turn blue into what I don't want. Blue is what I don't want. So what should I do? I want to separate. How do I do that? What I'm going to do is, there's 4 of them, right? There's 4 of them. I want to move them, and I'm going to explain even more what I mean. Boom. Now, this is going to give me momentum. Let me explain. So, let's just say you have, right? Let's just say you have an organization of about that amount. Don't know how much it is, but that's the organization you have, right? And everyone's always mingling. Everyone's always getting together throughout that whole group. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on them. I might put all of them in a group chat. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to take control of the environment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe invite these people to my house to grind, while those people do their own thing over here. So now what's going to happen is those people stay over there, and these people stay together. And so now they don't get influenced. Now guess what? When a new member comes in, hypothetically now keep in mind we have a split culture right now. We have a split culture. But this culture over here, it doesn't even matter. Some of you are going to have situations where you're outnumbered by negativity within your organization. That's actually very common. Of ego, of drugs, of weed, of drinking, of partying, right? That's actually very common. But that's not going to duplicate forever. It's eventually going to erode. And so what I want to do is I don't have to attack those people. I praise and neglect. I just want to focus on the right people. And so what I do is I isolate, I separate, I group them together, like I've said in the beginning. And then what do? After I group them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to now, right, when a new member comes in, what do I want the new member to see? Remember, a new member is a baby. They don't know what they don't know, right? They come into unconscious incompetence. They don't know what they don't know. But, so what happens is I can show them whatever I want to show them. So when they come in, I bring a new member in or whatever, I make sure that they go to this side over here. I make sure that they're on this side over here. Now, right, this is the squad that's going to duplicate because that's the coachable squad. So what happens is that looks like it's your biggest number of team, but what most people do is they're trying to save the whole organization. What they don't realize is what's actually going to happen if you do this correctly is this is all going to eventually erode because it's a bad culture. It's a culture of drugs, ego, and everything like that. And the new members that are getting brought in are getting plugged in right into a good environment. And so now what happens is this begins to duplicate over here into the culture that you do want. Right? That's why you always focus on what you want, never on what you don't want. And you don't have to go to these people over here and say, why are you drinking? Why are you smoking? Stop doing that. You don't have to do that. Right? Sometimes you might have to go head to head. But you don't want to go head to head if you don't have to. Okay? So if I can separate them, this is what I'll do. Now, I'm going to start wrapping this training up, okay? But what I'm explaining to you right now is everything that I have learned, right, from group psychology, right? The invisible fence. Look, the invisible fence. That is group psychology. The invisible fence. And when me and Drake, for example, we used to have this culture in Dallas. And in Dallas, the culture was weed, right? It was weed. It was all a bad culture. And so what ended up happening is we just did exactly this. And I remember I walked into the house and I pretty much said, this is what we're doing, okay? I said, I'm now taking control as a leader, all right? And if you're smoking weed or whatever, right, you're no longer with us. So go ahead and leave. And everyone actually left, right? Everyone actually left. And the organization appeared to collapse. And so we went from having a squad to being unranked because of that. But what we did do is we took the few people that were listening and we focused on them. Now there's one thing I didn't show you, which is this. What happens is when this is happening, these people start to get outnumbered over here. Eventually there's a shift. And guess what happens? Now in group psychology, what happens is that people feel peer pressured. And they don't want to be the odd one out. And so what happens is that these people, some of these people over here, right? What happens is they actually come over here because they're starting to feel, they don't know it, it's subconsciously, but they're starting to feel like they're not in the right area, right? Again, an invisible fence. There's a fence and they don't know that it's there, okay? That's what you got to understand. Now, the last thing I want to teach you is how do I deal with a negative, and it's the same thing, it's the same exact situation. That's what I'm explaining to you. You don't have to overthink this, all right? It's the same people. And I'm going to make this very dramatic and drastic for you, all right? Look. Cool. So, this is going to, I'm using the top of the leg. I'm using the top of the leg right here. Let that person represent, right, a very, very egotistical, maybe even malicious, ego, whatever. And they have control over that whole group, right? And so you're over here thinking, how do I get to that? Like, man, this leader's messing me up. This leader's messing me up. Right? And so a lot of people they let this person bully them. They let this person bully them. all you've got to do is you leverage this squad, and your team wants to help you. If you're a good leader, your team will help you. Okay? If you're a good leader, it doesn't matter if it benefits them or not. If you're a good leader, your team will help you because they see the bigger picture, right? And your team knows that they've got to get you and your entire organization to the next level if they want to get to the next level. If you're a good leader, your team will help you. Now, you always pass negative information down. This is very top leadership. All right, negative information down. Ooh, that's not what I meant. You always pass negative information up and only positivity down. Sometimes malicious things happen where we have to eventually game plan. Let's just say that. And sometimes, a lot of the times, you might have a squad or people, even over here, for example, that are under that leader or whatever, and those people see what's going on. They're aware. And what you could do is remember, people are influenced by the masses. They never want to be left out. They get peer pressured, whether they know it or not. And so you can utilize a couple of your leaders to help build relationships with these individuals over here. Because this is not to manipulate, by the way. This is to help, because this might be a very malicious person. This is way up there for talk. This might be too much. All right, but whatever. So now what's going to happen is you're building, right, influence by peer pressure, right, through this. And you're able to gather you're able to now gather in group, and you isolate that person. And so eventually, everyone will find out, right, that, hey, maybe we should have listened to that person. You don't even got to talk to that person. Now, I don't know, okay, and I'm just a very real person, and I truly teach people, I truly just want to help people, right? And I'm very real. Let's just say that. And so I'd say things that I probably shouldn't teach or say, or tell the exact truth about, but some of you are aware of the situation that I had going on within my organization, where I had this exact situation to the T. Some of you seen my Instagram live on it, right? Some of you see my Instagram live on it. And the thing is I would never make a move unless I had to. Right? I would never I want to do anything I can to not have to isolate a leader. I want to make sure I'm doing everything you do not want to just do this just because. Okay? You need to do everything you can. But sometimes someone is very negative. Okay? Very, 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 very negative, malicious, right? There might be somebody that has a lot of influence, but they're bringing cocaine around the squad. I'm just being honest. There's going to be situations as a leader, then you're going to have to deal with that. And what's going to have to happen is it might be the most influential person. I'm not saying that exact situation happened with me. I'm just saying that I've had that's just an example, but I've had a situation where I had a malicious leader. And what we had to do was this. And then at the end, right, I went on Instagram Live, okay? I went on Instagram Live to then solidify what I did. I then went on IG Live to solidify. And now everyone is in this area. Right? You've got to learn how to move and think. You've got to be composed as a leader. Now the thing is when I had this situation going on, I was working on the situation. Drake, how long was I working on the situation for? A year and a half. I was working on that situation. I had a leader that I was in this situation with. And I was very patient. For a year and a half, I was making moves. Right? For a year and a half. And I had people helping me for a long time. I'm not going to say their names, but I had a lot of help with this situation because your team wants to help you if you're a good leader and they know that you're sincere. And so there's never so many people want to react so quickly. I think I'm composed and I make a decision when I don't feel anything. When I'm angry, upset, feeling some type of way, I don't react. In fact, with this situation, I said, right, this person was being malicious, saying malicious things about me, spreading rumors about me that weren't even near true, literally like fake stuff, right? And people were like, yo, are you going to do something? And I said, no, I don't need to. Why? And they said, why? I said, because this person is eventually going to hang themselves. I'm going to be patient and wait till it happens, and I'll make the move, right? Once I solidify more people, I'm going to keep going, and everyone's going to realize that we've got a snake over here. Everyone's going to realize at some point, and sure shit, it happened. So learn to be composed. Now, that's the training that I have today, and I hope that you guys have got, right, a lot of value. All right, we are in a situation right now where we are moving very quickly as a company. We're moving very quickly as a company. And as a leader, it is your job to get better and to build your mind. You've got to learn to be, listen, when you're talking about building a multi-million/billion-dollar empire, when you're talking about making money to buy penthouses and all that other stuff, you've got to understand that, right? With great power comes great responsibility. And you're not going to, knowledge is power, right? And now with great power comes great responsibility. You've got to get knowledge so you can have that power. And there's going to be things that you're going to deal with. If you're not feeding your mind right now, especially when we're in quarantine and there's not a lot for you to do, you have a problem. Right now is the time where you go get your, listen, the penthouse is in the background right here, right, boom, right here, all right, right there. That's the penthouse, right, where Jason Brown is right there. Or maybe it's, yeah, is right there. And so my thing is this, right? Last year, I was broke as hell. My family died. I was not in a good situation financially, mentally, none of that, nothing of that sort. I see my mentors moving into penthouses, and I was just saying, I remember, I'll never forget when Jason moved into that penthouse over there, and he got this fish tank. He's like, oh, I got a fish tank because I liked it, right? I'm like, what the hell? You know, and I'm like, that's crazy money. And I tell you right now, I never actually believed that I could make that amount of money. And now I'm literally moving into the exact same place as Jason Brown a year later. And it wasn't planned. It wasn't because, right? It wasn't because it was something I've always wanted to do. But it only makes sense because of law of attraction. And so my thing is that, right, the lifestyle that we're able to literally live here, right? I mean, it's ridiculous because we're building, okay? We're building a life where every day is a vacation. Every day is a vacation if you work for it every day. And so you should be, listen, you need to understand, a lot of y'all seem to come up, some of you didn't, some of y'all think I got lucky and shit. But my thing is that you've got leaders that are grinding their faces off, that are at chairman, that are making guap on trading, right? You've got people that are showing you what's possible. Don't have an ego and think that it was luck for anyone. It's always hard work. Go build your skill set with trading and go build your skill set with building and get your ass in the trenches. Stop taking days off right now. You've got to get the plane off the ground. You've got to get the plane off the ground. Listen, I'm telling you, I never believed that this was possible. Then, as I'm looking at all of this real estate, look, Alex Morton lives right over there a couple buildings away. And then Matt Rosa lives a couple buildings over there. And then what I found out was all of these buildings go all the way down there, a couple miles worth. And then what I didn't know until the realtor said it was this, he goes, Millionaires Row. That's what it's called. And I didn't even know that I'm moving into a place that's literally called Millionaires Row. To a row where everyone in Miami is like, that's where the millionaires live. And so what you've got to be understanding is, I'm just a fucking busboy. I'm a busboy. I'm not a Chairman 50, okay? I'm not this big ass leader Cash Cartier, right? I'm a busboy that became this person. I'm a felon that became this person, right? I became this person. I was not given this, and this was not luck, right? Whoever you are, you can make it to this level, and honestly, a lot more. And so what I'm telling you is, do not be impressed by what I'm telling you. I'm not saying this to be impressed by me. I'm telling you, you need to be impressed by yourself, because at the end of the day, it's against all fucking odds, and you're the only one that's going to be able to get you to where you want to go. We can help you, but you're the one that's going to have to take yourself there. You're the one that's going to have to put in that work. You're the one that's going to have to be working when everyone else is sleeping. You're the one, when your mentor is not working, you're going to have to outgrind your fucking mentor, right? You're going to have to be the one that's grinding when your mentor stops, right? Your mentor falls off and you keep going. Your organization collapses and you keep going. Because at some point, if you don't quit, you're going to get everything that you want and a lot more. Everything that you want and a lot more. So you go get your life because you deserve it. This isn't no fucking hype. This is facts. I'm a busboy, a felon. I've got an anklet on right now, fighting life in prison, and I stand to you right now, right, on top of the fucking world, right, top 1%. 1%. How could you not beat me? Right? How can you not beat me? Go get your ass in the trenches. We've got to get this company to a multi-billion-dollar company. And we've got to get ATMs, right, to the top in the nation, the world, right, the fucking universe, and we're going to become a household name. And we're going to do it by doing this shit together. We got whiteboards all around this penthouse. We're ready to go. We're ready to go. Okay? We're game planning. We're in the trenches. We're going to be doing a lot of shit in the back end. It's your job to go get on the battlefield, get in there, and let us move some chess pieces around that's going to help us get to this next level. So my thing is if you're doing your own thing right now, when you've got leadership like this, you're tripping. If you really think that you want to start all over, right, and do your own thing, you're tripping. We've got it all planned out for you. You've got a flawless system, right, that we're literally skipping ranks like crazy. Don't go do your own thing right now. I'm going to be honest, all that bullshit emojis y'all be dropping and shit, okay? Yes, you know who I'm talking about, right? Right? This is my thing. Don't forget, right, who's really in the trenches for you. Don't come into our culture changing our shit. If you want to come into our culture dropping that disrespectful shit, go into your own chat room and take your whole squad out so we can isolate and do this exact situation to you. Because what I'm telling you is don't think we're not watching. And those little subliminal shots some of y'all are firing on Instagram stories, we see you too. We see you too, right? We got you too. And y'all know who I'm talking about as well. So with that part being said, all right, we're building this shit to the heavens, right? You're not going to outdo this shit. We're building this shit to the heavens, the best to ever fucking do it, right? We're taking to the top. Walking ATMs isn't everything. It's the only thing. I love you guys. I'm out. I'll see you in a little bit.